Hi, Rosemary. Welcome.
Hi, Phoebe. How are you?
Hello. I'm well, thank you. Are you calling from Australia?
I am, yes.
Oh,
From
amazing.
the Sydney Policy Lab.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, it's really good that you guys can join us this time.
Yeah, really happy to.
Hey, Alice.
How's it going? Oh,
I think now we can, I couldn't hear you before, but I can hear you now. So hi.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just realized,
Hi.
annoyingly, I've activated waiting room for this Zoom call. So I'm gonna have to like click everyone out. It's very annoying. I'm gonna see if
We'll
I
get admitted.
change that. Let's have a look. Hi, Tony.
Hello.
Hi, David.
Hey.
Morning.
Good
David,
evening.
you're calling from New Zealand, right?
Melbourne.
Melbourne, okay.
So yeah. Yep.
Fantastic. Hi, Amy.
Hello. How's everyone doing?
Doing all right. I'm experimenting with something called Zoom polls. So I don't know if you can see. Oh no, I haven't launched it. Okay, so I'm gonna give this a go. You should see a poll. Can you let me know if you can't see it?
Yeah, you can
Polls
see it.
right up there.
Sorry.
I can see it.
Okay, so it's treat it with a bit of a pinch of salt. Just giving this tool a go, but it's a way of expressing how are you feeling, where are you calling from, and what are you working in, what sector are you working in, so we can kind of map that.
Hey, Thomas.
Hey, Thomas. Cool. We'll just wait until 5 past until getting started. Hi, Alina.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going good. I was really enjoyed. We were on a webinar together this morning, and Alina read an incredible poem. It was a really good way to start the day. So thank you.
What was the poem?
It's a poem that I wrote after reading Johan Rockstrom's book, Big World, Small Planet. It's called Big World, Small Planet, the remix. Yeah, it's on YouTube if you wanna look that up.
Yeah, we'll look it up.
I mean, Alina, if you felt like reading it, we could always think about doing that at the end, but totally up to you. No pressure at all.
Let's see how I'm feeling at like 10:30 because it's pretty late here.
Sounds good. Hi, Bronwyn.
Hi. Sorry, just like transitioning rooms. And I've just lost your visuals, but I'm Bronwyn.
Good to meet you.
Yeah. Thanks for. Actually, I just read something Alina wrote about the 6 narratives this afternoon, and then I was thinking, I recognize that name. There you are.
Nice. Yeah, so we've got this call as a morning call to allow for Australian and New Zealand based folks to be able to join us. So we'll do this, we'll try and keep this cycling between afternoon and morning as our group grows in numbers of people from different parts of the world.
That's fantastic.
Cool. Well, I'm actually just going to kick us off with a check-in in breakout rooms, and that will allow for the last people who are kind of trickling in. I've managed to activate the kind of waiting room function, which is quite annoying. It means I have to like keep clicking everyone in, but learning how to use Zoom in weird and wonderful ways all the time. And you should see a poll that you can have a look at, where you can express how are you feeling, where are you calling from, and what sort of area do you work in, so that we can start to visualize that a little bit. Looks like most of us are from UK, Europe, and Australia, and one from New Zealand, Nina. And it's actually quite a equal spread between all of the different professions. So we've got people in strategic communications, 56% of people in narratives, a third in storytelling, none in journalism, a third in think tanks, and a quarter in policymaking, and a fifth of people in culture. Cool. So as you do that poll, I'm going to split us into breakout rooms with a really simple check-in. There's not like a deep check-in question this time, just a chance to kind of land, arrive. Maybe you can use the prompts from the poll as your starting points, and then we'll come back together and actually get into the stuff around metaphors and images that you have been invited to. So this should put people into groups of 2 to 3. So in a second, you'll see an invitation to go out into a breakout room. And in 6 minutes, I'll call you guys back. So just 2 minutes each. See you soon.
Phoebe.
Hey, couldn't see you. You're very, very blurry Ronan shape. Like an abstract, like a kind of abstract painting, like squiggles. It's quite nice. How are you?
Weird. Yeah, I'm doing hard to say really. I really like your shirt. I think that's a really cool shirt that you got on.
Thank you. It's a fave.
Do you want me to join this breakout room, or could I possibly stay and finish my breakfast?
Yeah, you can just reject your breakout. I was just I saw you come in and I was like, oh yeah, this group has only 2 people, but we can just leave them to it. What are you having for your brekkie?
Oh, dude, it's so good. I'm having leftovers from last night, which includes like broccoli, asparagus, lamb with turmeric, and then there's like nuts in there. Put egg in there this morning. Some like coconut cheese. It's really very yummy.
Yum. Coconut cheese. Coconut cheese with lamb. It's like a kind of veggie, like vegan meat.
Yeah. Vegan meets carnivore.
Vegan meat. Nice.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I have this quite necessary morning practice of like breath work and running and meditation that I usually get done by 10, including a shower and breakfast, but it eluded me today.
That's all right.
But I'm here.
Yeah, good. I'm waking up like at 6 at the moment. Just I think also with the light, like I have really light curtains, so I just by the time I get to 10, luckily I've had like 3 hours, like 4 hours where it's just me doing my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good, isn't it?
So good.
Early mornings are the way to go.
Definitely. It's like protected time. Yeah. I'm in quite.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I took basically 2 days avoiding doing anything productive or like work related, just to be with what's happening in my family and my grandmother passing. Yeah, I mean, it also felt like a lot of my being was actually not physically here. Like I felt really kind of present in, different realms, as some might say.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's just the sense of like accompanying someone you love in their transition to leaving this world. And you could get really esoteric about it, but you could also just be like, it's me making sense of that transition. Yeah, so it's been really deep.
Were
And
you
then
guys close?
yeah, we were really close. But she's also been getting old for a while, and she had Alzheimer's for the last like 5 years of her life. So yeah, it wasn't a sudden thing. Yeah, but then I'm like arriving like this morning, I'm just like, okay, I can focus again, but I'm kind of like, oh, this call. This thing, like just returning to like physical realm of stuff. Yeah,
kind of physical realm. We're still in the online space.
Yeah, and it's still like pretty abstract. Yeah, but yeah.
Are you still with your family in Chiswick?
Yeah, so lucky. Feeling so lucky for that.
Have you got plans for after the lockdown?
I do not. Well, actually, that's a lie. Yes, I do. Tony, who you'll see on this call, and I are part of a group who is plotting to go to. Oh, Jess, to the chateau. So we've got like a group of like 20 of us who are waiting for to be able to travel across and basically live in that castle for like a month or two and see what happens.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, I do have plans. They just don't feel very real.
Is there any space for me, or is it all booked up?
I can inquire. It's Jess's thing with Primavera, who's another friend. But I haven't even thought to ask about people we can invite. I was just thinking, yes, and then probably once we're there, we can.
And is it what? Just like, are they social change types or what?
I literally got I mean, I've known that that's kind of the plan Tony and I were thinking of doing, but I didn't realize that there were going to be like, there's a little group, but I don't know anything about the other people apart from that they're probably like embassy network people.
Yeah.
But I've got to call everyone back from the breakouts, but we will finally have we should have a catch up now that I'm kind of out of this last like 5
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really free this week, so we can have it this week or whatever it suits.
Perfect. Me too.
Great. Just give me 2 seconds.
All right. Hmm.
I accidentally left early.
That's all right.
I went to close the little window. I was like, get out of my way, window. I came back.
Got back in.
With conversation. So sorry, Ella and Dora.
Did you at least get a little bit of check-in moment? Good. I'm excited for this call. I looked at the calendar invite and it said there's an hour and a half, and I was like, wow. didn't expect us to have so long together, but I think that's really good because it's quite a deep topic. Looks like everyone is back. Cool. And it also looks like 94% of people have apparently filled out the poll questions. So thank you. I really need to hold back my my tech geekery with Zoom, because at this rate I will just try all of the features all the time. So most of you were on our first call 2 weeks ago, but we do have, could you just give us a wave if you haven't been on one of these SG3 calls? Ella, I like how you gave a wave anyway, just yes, wave. Okay, so we've got about half of people were here before and half were not, and that's partly because also we've got people from Melbourne and Wellington joining us today, which is great. If you can mute when not talking, that's helpful. So just a tiny bit of context to open this call. This is a group that is part of a bigger group that's been meeting in response to COVID-19, specifically around this topic of strategic narratives and strategic communications, and thinking about the different responses and sense making and kind of work and collaboration that can happen in response to the pandemic. Given that we're all stuck at home as well, there's so much of this pandemic that's playing out in the non-physical realm in terms of how we're telling stories and who gets to tell those stories and what is the narrative. So that's partly why I think a lot of people have talked about how narratives are just being talked about all the time, and I don't think that's by accident. And so this convening is being done by Alice, who's on this call. If you want to give a little hello, and also Thomas Coombs, who joined in a couple of weeks ago. So hi, Thomas. And this specific smaller group I'm really excited about, because I think it's all really exciting. We've got other groups that are focusing on which narratives kind of need to be amplified at this time, and kind of technically how do we do that, and what kind of messaging can we create to support people who are telling stories about the virus or the pandemic and the response. But this group, in this group, the focus is really around these deeper narratives, and how do we kind of do the sense making and the interrogation of what are the stories and the metaphors and the narratives that could be used at this time, or need to be used at this time, to get us from what's happening to a place that could be better for all of humankind. And there's a big question too about who gets to do that, and who is able to even take part on a call like this, and how do we actually not just focus on what are the narratives and the metaphors, but also who gets to tell that narrative. Seems to me like probably as important as devising which metaphors and narratives get to stick. So what else do I want to say before moving on? Give a quick agenda for the call. Also to tell you that this is probably the least important thing, but this narratives group has been given a new name, which is Narwhal, given that somebody from our group was visited by a mystical narwhal creature who asked this person to pass on the message that we should be named after this creature. And so we've worked retroactively to fit an acronym to that name, which is Narratives Working Group Hopeful and Long Term, which I think you'll agree is a totally natural name for a group. Thanks, Alina. Cool. So the agenda for this call roughly is that we've had a bit of we've had a little bit of a check-in, little introduction. I'm going to call upon a couple people at some point to bring in some perspectives that they've prepared beforehand. I think, John, you were someone who wanted to bring in some stuff around metaphors you've been working on, Thomas as well, but there will be lots of chances for everybody to feed in. And I have been building up a bit of a map around different metaphors and images that I've been seeing being used in the media that I would love to show you as a kind of primer. And then from there, we will go through some different prompts around what are the kind of images and metaphors that you've been seeing in the media and in the information ecology. What is missing? What have you not been seeing in this landscape? And what are the metaphors and images that you would like to see or that you're working with? And so we'll do this through typing in the chat, having some bits of discussion, and going into breakouts to do some of that deeper sense making, and then come back and feedback all together. Are there any questions before we move on to that? Nope, no questions. Great. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and show you some of this map, which I'm also thinking could become an open editable thing if people from the group would like to feed in and to kind of build this as a resource for us, as a kind of place where we can build up all of these different things that are coming in. I was finding it overwhelming personally, like receiving emails like every day, like 10 emails with like different articles and images, and like, hey, have you seen this? And I was just like, I need to put this out somewhere I can see it, because I'm a visual person. So it's quite an overwhelming map. I want to just give a shout out to Alina, who started another map actually. That, Alina, maybe you want to put the link in the chat, because that could be a great shared resource as well. And then I got inspired by Miro, and I think your map kind of helped me get over the like initial resistance of the scariness of this tool. So this is, I've just been basically dropping different links in here with a bit of text and like little snippets. It's kind of like a scrapbook of different metaphors that I've been seeing. And I'm just going to talk you through the main areas, and then we can open up for more discussion and stuff. So one of the major areas I've seen a lot of images and metaphors being used is this kind of war metaphor. And maybe like as I'm talking, if you want to put in it, if you've seen similar, or if you've kind of got any added context or comments to add, just put them in the chat. So yeah, a lot of like politicians are using, literally saying we're in a war. I think it was Macron used the word war like 4 times in his speech. Boris Johnson talks about this being a wartime government, and somebody in the US also referred to this as our Pearl Harbor, which, yeah, there's been some really good commentary on how a pandemic is not a war, and actually how that could be very misleading and a poor metaphor for this, given that a war is something like the kinds of behaviors that can help you survive in a war are not necessarily the same ones that could help you survive in a pandemic. So being careful, actually having a lot of information in a pandemic versus in a war, often you don't have any information, and doesn't matter how careful you are, things can still end up very, very badly. So it's actually, there's some interesting kind of nuance there around whether a war is a good metaphor for this time. I'm just trying to pick out a couple of details. There was a great story put out by Zach Stein around a war broke out in heaven. So it was a kind of different angle on the idea of a war, that, this is a larger kind of mythic war that we're in, and that, that we need to come out of that as the winning side, which, is something we can also talk about. I found some interesting commentary on this time being kind of referred to with words like lockdown and curfew, which brings also this image of kind of being like naughty children being locked down and having done something wrong. So that's also there on the map. And then, yeah, COVID-19 as a demon, comparing the pandemic to the 1918 Spanish flu as well, and World War II, and then also comparisons with 9/11. So there's this kind of historical perspectives. So zooming out from there, it's not perfectly categorized. There's some non-war stuff in this area as well. So like humans are the virus. That's been like another recurring image of actually humans are the virus, and we need to do something about that. We've got kind of transport metaphors. I wrote a thing about a train that we've kind of got off. There's some people talking about a boat, that we're all facing the same storm, but we're all in very different boats. And that that it's this kind of idea of like going somewhere, or like getting off the thing that is moving. Here we've got some animal metaphors, which friends Dugald Hine and Ed Gillespie, they've got a podcast called The Great Humbling. They've got a whole episode that goes deeply into these images of, you know, the black swan, the white swan, the green swan, which kind of situates, it's like a metaphor that then just situates this virus as like a thing and like a situation, and that it's got like certain characteristics. But that, I also kind of wonder what that does to how we think about this. There's also some developmental metaphors. So like the fact that we're in a crucible. I think, John, you used the word crucible in your article. There's a couple of people calling this the chrysalis, of like this, you know, we're in a kind of developmental stage and everything is melting and we're going to come out kind of transformed as a butterfly. So it's like potentially quite a positive image, unless we stay in kind of goo forever and we never actually emerge as a butterfly. And yeah, here's an area of this kind of larger kind of, we're all one humanity, one global humanity. We've got a couple articles here about like love, and this being like a love story. I think that was from Kirsty, who's also part of the group. And then Alice's articles around this as being an unfolding story, which is also helpful to think of this as having kind of beginning, middle, and end, and a progression, and helps us think a little bit more long term about where we're going. And then this is a really big area of a lot of messaging around this crisis being an opportunity. So we've got Arundhati Roy's talking about this being a portal, like this being the moment and like something we can go through as an initiation. Also heard the word initiation, like a kind of global initiation for humanity, of like coming of age. That's also been used quite a lot. We've got a lot around this kind of new possibility now, what is possible that wasn't possible before, the impossible, the unimaginable. Over here we've got, yeah, this kind of, the unimaginable has happened. This kind of break from what is normal to a completely liminal zone where, you know, where we don't actually know what's going to happen. And I guess that's kind of implicit in the portal as well, like something's on the other side, but we can't actually grasp what's on that other side. Yeah, a lot around don't go back to normal, and then people commenting on how using the word don't is not very helpful for kind of human psychology of not being something that sticks. When people hear don't do this, they actually just do. Want to do that. Then the folks at Beyond Return, don't go back to sleep, what's being revealed. Some people talking about this being like a dress rehearsal, like a second chance, comparing that with climate change, of like we've been given an opportunity here actually to act where we weren't acting for the kind of larger, more looming crisis. And then a lot of images around this great pause and the concept that we're in a moment of not doing, and that gives us time and kind of energy to do stuff that we might not have before. And then this morning I just got, I saw a tweet from Caroline Lucas around like green steps to better, is like, seems to be another image of kind of moving forward into the future and rebuilding. So rebuilding, changing everything, the hashtag build back better, reset everything. So that's a bit of a digest of not comprehensive, but just some big areas that I've been seeing. And I'm going to stop sharing. You can see there's quite a lot of stuff in the chat. If anybody kind of has any burning thoughts or comments, as you kind of heard me talking through that, maybe you've got like some meta sense making around those different images and metaphors that have been used. It'd be great to have a little discussion about that. And then I've got some prompts that we can go through and put in the chat. John, go ahead.
I actually wanted to queue up Ivor and the